In the wilderness, he calls the sons and daughters to the wilderness, but he gives grace sufficient to survive any test, and that's the painful purpose of the wilderness.
Hello, this is Luke. Welcome to our first episode of the Sojourn, Strait Talk on Life with the Three Blind Marksmen. This will be our first episode, kind of an introduction, which will mean that it'll necessarily be a tad boring, so I hope you guys can bear with us and keep jumping in weeks to come as we really gain momentum with this. But I suppose just to cover a few bases here, some of you are probably wondering why in the world you would care about talks on life from three guys who clearly do not take life very seriously. But the truth is, we actually take life extremely seriously. It's ourselves that we don't take very seriously. In fact, the fact that we take life so seriously is what makes it so hard to take, well, me very seriously. You also might be wondering what you could really learn about life from three guys who clearly just have too much time on their hands with all the nonsense they're posting online. But it might interest you to know that Jonathan and myself work full-time jobs. I'm additionally a volunteer pastor for a local church. Isaac is a full-time college student and works a part-time job. My point is, we all have the same difficult schedules as anybody else. We do all these things that we do because we make them a priority. There are things that are extremely important to us to get out and do, and while we do them, we have some ridiculous mishaps. We have some funny stories, some crazy errors, and we enjoy posting those up and sharing them with you guys as we continue on this journey of life. But that's what this is really all about, the journey of life. You see, we've chosen the name The Sojourn for these videos because that's really our philosophy. That is what we look at life as. We are travelers on a difficult and wonderful road to an incredible destination just beyond the edge of this life. But a lot of people, they might think that what I just said is true, but we don't live like life is a trek, like it's a pioneer adventure. We live instead like life is a settlement, like we're laying the foundation for a colony, building up walls, drawing in our resources, trying our best to safely and securely enjoy all that the land of this life has to offer, because this is as good as it gets. But the truth of the matter is, if you live this life like this life is all there is, and that this is as good as it gets, there are two serious problems. The first is that that's simply not true. There is more than this life, and this isn't as good as it gets. But secondly, when you live that way, you don't even get the best out of this life. You don't get the most value that you would out of the journey or the destination. And so I invite you to come alongside us and begin to reevaluate, or at least hear us out, on the idea of this adventure, this journey, this trek through life, which I think is very much what Jesus was talking about in the climax of the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 7, when he talks about life in terms of a broad and easy road or a narrow, difficult mountain pass. And he talks about life as settling on a convenient but flimsy, sandy foundation that ultimately collapses, or on the hard and firm foundation of all that he taught. You see, the road we travel matters, and the destination where we settle matters. And there's nothing more important than this. Are you settling, no pun intended, for this life? Or are you going to live for more? Are you going to be a pioneer that's going to take this trek, taking the bad with the good, journeying through the difficulty of this life as a treacherous but beautiful country, but on the other side is a destination worth living for, and when the time comes for it, worth dying for. Because you will live differently if you believe this. This is not a trivial philosophical conjecture. A wonderful hotel room would make an awful apartment. A tent is fun to camp in, but none of us would pay rent on one. In fact, an RV trailer is luxurious to camp in, but you wouldn't take out a mortgage and move into one. Those who do live in RVs do so because their life is a journey. They're on the road. They're not settling somewhere. Your priorities are completely different when you're traveling than they are when you're settling down and securing yourself somewhere. So I invite you, get off the foundation. If you're on the wrong one, and hit the road with us. Let's take this journey together, and let's get to somewhere better and have a marvelous adventure on the way.
And that's the painful promise of the will.